Jesus was going through a field of grain on a Sabbath. His disciples were picking the heads of grain, rubbing them in their hands, and eating them. Some Pharisees said, "Why are you doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" Jesus said to them in reply, "Have you not read what David did when he and those who were with him were hungry? How he went into the house of God, took the bread of offerings, which only the priest could lawfully eat, ate of it, and shared with his companions. Then he said to them, 'The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath.'" The Gospel of the Lord. My dear brothers and sisters, I was going to bring you a paper with a letter written by St. Peter Claver, but because of my reputation, I lost the paper and I can't find it. So I'm going to read it out on my cell phones, and technology can be useful for some things. So St. Peter Claver wrote this in Cartagena, Colombia. Yesterday, May 30, 1627, on the feast of the Most Holy Trinity, numerous blacks brought from the rivers of Africa disembarked from a large ship, carrying 2 baskets of oranges, lemons, sweet biscuits, and I know not what else. We hurried towards them. When we approached their quarters, we thought we were entering another Guinea. We had to force our way through the crowds until we reached the sick. Large number of the sick were laying on the wet ground, or rather in puddles of mud, to prevent excessive dampness. Someone had through of building up a mound with a mixture of tiles and broken pieces of bricks. This then was their couch, a very uncomfortable one, not only for that reason, but especially because they were naked, without any clothing to protect them. We laid aside our cloaks, therefore, and brought from a warehouse whatever was handy to build a platform. In that way, we covered a space to which we at last transferred the sick by forcing a passage through bands of slaves. Then we divided the sick into 2 groups. One group my companion approached with an interpreter, while I addressed the other group. There were 2 blacks, near death than life, already cold, whose pulse could scarcely be detected. With the help of a tile, we pulled some leaf coals together and placed them in the middle near the dying man. Into this fire we tossed aromatics. Of those we had 2 wallets full, and we used them all up on this occasion. Then, using our own cloaks, for they had nothing of this sort, and to us the honors of others would have been a waste of words, we provided for them a smoke treatment by which they seemed to recover their warmth and the breath of life. The joy in their eyes as they looked at us was something to see. This was how we spoke to them, not with words, but with our hands and our actions. And in fact, convinced as they were that they had been brought here to be eaten, any other language would have proved utterly useless. Then we sat, or rather kneeled, beside them and bathed their faces and bodies with wine. We made every effort to encourage them with friendly gestures and displayed in their presence the emotions which somehow naturally tend to hearten the sick. After this, we began elementary instructions about baptism, that is, the wonderful effect of the sacrament on body and soul. When by their answers to our questions, they showed they had sufficiently understood this, we went on to a more extensive instruction, namely about the one God who rewards and punishes each one according to his merits, and the rest. We asked them to make an act of contrition and to manifest their detestation of their sins. Finally, when they appear sufficiently prepared, we declare to them the mysteries of the Trinity, the Incarnation and the Passion, showing them Christ fastened to the cross, as he is displayed on the baptismal font, on which streams of blood flow down from his wounds. We led them in reciting an act of contrition in their own language. My dear brothers and sisters, I read this letter written by St. Peter Claver to you because I don't know about you, but if I was in his case, in the 17th century in Cartagena, Colombia, and you see all these ships coming from Africa with black slaves to the church, and you see all this mystery, you will feel this impotence. You will feel this angriness and maybe even this hatred for all these people who are doing these awful and horrible things. But at the same time, you know that there is not much you can do because you're only one person against an entire society or against an entire establishment that enslaved these people and dehumanized them. But he loved them. And because out of love and out of his own vocation and in the plan that God had for him, he went and treated one by one. He didn't look at the forest, but he looked at each individual tree and tried to do what God was asking him to do in the middle of the mystery. And his sole motivation to bring back dignity to this poor slave wasn't only to feed their bellies and to bring human dignity on a human level, but it was for the sake of their salvation from eternal condemnation, their salvation in order for them to repent from their sins, to recite the act of contrition, to receive baptism, and in order to enter the kingdom of heaven by becoming children of God. So my dear brothers and sisters, what is your motivation of love? Why do you love? Do you love to seek the conversion? Do you love to seek that your husband, your wife, your kids, those who are you're called to love, because God given you that gift to love that person, do you love them for their salvation? Or do you love them in a different way? And also, not only love, but do you feel that impotent, that you cannot fix everyone's life? Or do you humble yourself and you ask the Lord for guidance in order to do his will in your life, in order for you to follow his plan of salvation? So my dear brothers and sisters, today that we celebrate the memory of St. Peter Claver, let us ask St. Peter Claver to guide us in order for us not to feel overwhelmed by everything that goes around our life, but in order to do God's will here and today.